Sometimes, man, you just get to where I can't figure this out. Like help me out. I'm trying to understand, dudes, what the hell is going on? So that's the name of this partnership. You tell me. 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 You tell me.
That beat be a vibe, baby. It be a vibe.
Live on Mondays. You tell me. Live on Mondays. You tell me.
Dukes the Scoop. What it do, bro?
Man, what's going on, man? Snowed in Atlanta. What's happening?
Man, it is going down across the South from Houston all the way through Atlanta, up through the Carolinas. People snowed in. Shout out to my Aunt Roz and Uncle Joe down in New Orleans. They're looking out their window at the snow, but more importantly, they should be looking at the show right now since they snowed in. So they just like you, Dukes. Ain't no school popping off the bar. I know young Cam is gonna have that video game hot all night.
Oh man, he gonna be doing some push-ups tonight, man. He think he's skipping out on workouts. Hey man, man, it's Iron Man contest in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah, got to get it. No days off. No days off. Hey, as you checking in with the chat, let us know where you're checking in from. It is You Tell Me, typically live on Monday nights, but we did a little pushback. National championship. Your boy Neely was traveling, trying to get ahead of this snow in the snow, but we back at it tonight. Another episode live of You Tell Me with Uncle Neely and Dukes the Scoop, where we throw each other topics and just simply say, hey, you tell me, because I don't know what the hell is going on. I can't figure it out. But I think tonight, man, because you in ATL and snowing, I might call you Snowman tonight. You young Jeezy.
Man, you know, I feel better about it, man. You know, now you can call me Jeezy, man. I went and finally got me some glasses. So I feel I'm back, you know. So now the prescription ain't in them yet, but if I squint, they can't tell. So hey,
I got
no harm, no foul.
Dudes, I'll be doing the same thing. Like, nigga, why you got your glass on? One, these studio lights be bright. And then two, and I need to check over the chat or text Chico something. Y'all can't see me cutting my eyes somewhere. It's a method to the mad. It's a method to the madness.
Right. So
man, we got Saginaw checking in. Waco, Texas. Duval. ... No snow. Las Cruces, New Mexico. I'm sure there's no snow there as well. Like I said, man, I'm back in the SIP for a little while. But no matter where we are, whether the Dukes is traveling, I'm traveling, we're going to always find time for You Tell Me. Hey, bro, let's kick it off on you. What you got for me?
Yeah. You tell me, Uncle Neely, after watching last night's championship game, do you see a world where Colorado can compete at a high level without that $20 million budget that Ohio State has?
You know, man, that's a whoo boy. You went for the throat on the first one. I love it. I love it. So let me big pause. No diddy. Let me before I answer that, let me tell all the new folks out there watching. Again, we're live on all three channels: Dukes the Scoop Network, the Pregame Network, as well as Big Dog Chico producing in the back. We don't share these questions with each other, so we just go right at it. You know, it's interesting, Dukes, you put it that way, because when I looked at athletic performance, when I looked at what Colorado's offense could do against either of those defenses, or what the Colorado defense could do to stop either of those offense, I certainly could see a world of immediately being able to compete. But when I look at the buildup of those programs the past 4 weeks or so, getting to where they are, you know, the way they look when they get off the buses, the way they travel, the gear, the et cetera, you name it. Money matters in college football now, man. And when I guarantee you this, I bet you the top 5 teams out of the top 12 finishes are right along the same lines in budget order as well as finish order. You might have one or two that's going to be off here and there, but college football is becoming much like politics. The person who spends the most money, more time than not, is going to win. And when you look at the budgets of Ohio State's the budgets of a Notre Dame, the budget of other teams that's been in it, what they have in collectives and what they have in NIL certainly makes a difference. Now, when it comes down to, hey, they going inside run, who going to stop it? That part is just football. But the organizational aspects, what you can pay your coaches, and not just your head coach, but what you pay your assistant coaches, what you pay your strength and conditioning, what you invest in as to where you stay when you travel, on and on and on and on. Money makes a big difference. And so I would have to say from that aspect, Colorado is not there yet.
I would have to agree with you. This is what I see. Now, there's going to be a time where college football is going to mirror college basketball to where continuity matters, right? So in years previous, we saw when the one and done rules placed in effect and the John Calipari's of the world went and got all the one and done guys, but never could get over the hump. And during that same period, it was the Jay Wrights of the world at Villanova who had, the Villanova three that's still out there: Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson. What's my man name? Not Bridges. The other one. But their team was built organically, and I think that way that Coach Prime is recruiting, bringing in more like a certain aspect of a player, the things that he's looking for. He's looking for a couple of 5-star guys who could just do it all, but he's mainly looking for guys who can come in that he could teach to play the right way from day one. Guys who have the attitude that want that professional style of teaching and coaching from day one. He's not coddling nobody. He's bringing in Colorado guys. So I think in order to get around or supplement yourself versus those $20 million budgets that you see, because they think it's just Ohio State, but it's not. Oregon, Texas, Auburn. Like, you got a lot of it. Like, this year, Auburn is up there. When you talk about some of the most expensive teams in college football. So now when you have to do that differently. So what Coach Prime adds in the transfer portal now, they're additions. They're not the foundation. What he got in this recruiting class this past year looks like the foundation of a championship football team from what we can see now. So I think as long as he's able to continue to recruit guys who have a professional mindset as 18-year-olds, the maturity is there, guys who are going to get up, continue to go down to IMG Academy where guys are used to being on time. You don't have to preach to them about the importance of not missing a weightlifting session. That's how you're going to be able to circumvent the current system of the best players only go to the best payers. And I think that's how you get around that. But outside of that, to your point, it's either going to be money or you better grow on, or you better. It's just like when a guy gets recruited and goes to a smaller agent or something. You better have that guy since he was 5 years old, because if not, he's going to athletes first. He's going to the powerhouses. And I think it's the same thing in college football right now.
Yeah, I love that agency analogy. Both of us have, been knee deep or waist deep in no pause, no with a Diddy in that industry and understand what takes place there. I like that, man. The players go to the payers. And I think that some people, like in this Colorado situation, are able to recruit differently because Coach Prime has articulated this time and time again. It's about the NFL, not the NIL. And so he's been able, to get some things and do some things that other coaches can't do because there's a delayed financial reward. Like, hey, come here. We may not have the NIL bread right now, but we're going to get you to the NFL bread, which is much bigger. But I think as time goes on, you're going to see the investment made. Let's just be frank about it. Before the arrival of Coach Prime, you had to go all the way back to the 90s, before Colorado was looked at as if it was a football school. And that's no shade. That just is what it is. And so now it is being redefined and becoming a football school. And with that will become investments. Everybody can't go everywhere, Dukes. Everybody can't go to SMU. Everybody can't go to Auburn. Everybody can't go to, I'm naming some money places, the Michigans and Ohio States. So there's going to still be great players out there, great enough for you to win the Big 12 and get into the CFP. And then your Jimmies and Joes, augmented by your X's and O's, can get you a W at that point.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said Michigan, because when you look at what Michigan just added, like they just got Ty Haywood from Alabama. Well, right now they said, they waited all year long and they were last or to near the bottom of the recruiting rankings in their conference based on where they should have been coming off a national championship. And they said at the end, they just said, all right, we got to get this bag right. And what happened when they got the bag right? Then the players started coming. Then you flip Bryce, the number one player in the country. Now you add a top five player in Ty Haywood, depending on what ranking you look at. Now you add those type of guys because you're coming with the bread. And I think that if you don't have the bread, like right now, I don't see Colorado positioned to compete at that level when it comes to just say, hey, come over here, we can give you the same thing they can give you. No, you got to come over here with a purpose because, hey, listen, same thing Kirby Smart did for you, is doing and still continues to do. Now he's not able to do it as much, but he was able to say what Nick Saban, you got the championship discount. Are you come here? We're gonna develop you. You're gonna go here. You're gonna go. There's more scouts here. We put 14 people in the league in 2021 in the NFL draft. This is what you get when you come to Georgia. It's okay to be a 5-star to come here and sit. Well, you have to put, like, now you have a little bit of proof of concept to say, you know what, Colorado went 9-3, and our roster wasn't as stacked as it will be in 2 years if guys like you continue to come. So I think there is a way
going on. You
competitive, but as far as the championship thing, you're gonna have to spend something, dog.
There it is. There it is. I got one for you, and it's gonna stay in the lines of the championship game last night. Last night, the national championship was played between Notre Dame and Ohio State. Ohio State being victorious. You can look at the final score, and it looks closer than it was scoreboard-wise. But from a dominant standpoint, it really was not close. But I'm going in another direction with this. You tell me. In the words of JD from the Lynch Mob when it was at Ice Cube, you try to pay me off with a banana, but JD is blacker than the city of Atlanta. It gets no blacker than Atlanta, GA. Martin Luther King Day of Service, Martin Luther King holiday, and you had your first black head coach coaching in the national championship game. Of course, did not come up on the winning side of that, Dukes. What will it take? And maybe it's along the same lines, or will it even happen again? What do you see out there on the horizon when we're going to have not just one black coach, but maybe two, but more importantly, a black coach winner? You tell me, what does it take?
One is going to take, that's a great question. It's going to take consistency, and it's going to take opportunity. A lot of times we have, and it's going to take patience in selecting jobs. So I always talk about African-American coaches. Sometimes as brothers, we're not used to getting these positions. So we take the first one available, which may not be the best job, instead of being patient and waiting until that job comes your way. For example, I know this is NFL, but this guy was just in college last year. Eric Bieniemy, Colorado great. He was sitting chilling. He was going to different interviews. They said, hey, he may not be interviewing the best, or it were all of this stuff came out. But regardless, what they couldn't take away from him was he was a repeat Super Bowl champion offensive coordinator. Yeah. Well, in order to get out of there, he goes to a sinking ship in Washington. No quarterback. Ron Rivera was on the hot seat, and he had a old school way of coaching, which didn't mesh with the guys. So he's out of a job there. Then doesn't wait. Goes straight to UCLA with Deshaun Foster, brand new coach. You lose no quarterback once again. You lose your quarterback to Oregon. Dante Moore leaves. You take that job, you don't do well. And now Eric Bieniemy is colder than grits left out right now, dog. And he was the hottest coach. He was the hottest African-American coach and one of the hottest coaches, period, 2 years ago. But by not being patient and taking the right job at the right time, he's now he damn near got to start over. So I think the first thing is you got to have guys that take the right jobs and are patient enough to wait. It's a lot of defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators right now who got to be patient so they get the right job and put their work in. Okay, cool. The next part of that is once you get the opportunity, to be consistent, to win consistently, and to be able to recruit consistently. When I think about guys who could potentially fulfill that, I look at Coach Prime and Fran Brown. Those are two guys who I think are well positioned, who have both at 9 wins this year. Both are going to recruit well. Both are going to be in competition every year to be near the top of their conference because they're not playing they're not in the Big Ten, they're not in the SEC, so they're not really going against those blue blood type programs. Every year, you're probably going to, Fran Brown is going to have to go through Clemson or Miami every year. And we saw what he did to Miami this year with a souped up team. People don't talk about Miami's roster. Miami's roster was approaching 18 to 20 million last year too. So you got Fran Brown, you got Coach Prime, who's in the Big 12. He's able to recruit with a national imprint, go up against all the blue bloods, and to be able to get that type of talent. And right now in year 2, they're both candidates. Well, excuse me, year 3 for Coach Prime, year 2 for Fran Brown. They're both candidates to win their conferences next year. So I think as long as we stay patient, as long as you stay consistent, and keep your nose clean. Those three.
I love those responses, Dukes, and even that last one you ended with keep your nose clean. And what is amazing about that, because for me, for the you tell me on this portion of it, the biggest thing is opportunity, and it is just amazing how clean we have to keep our nose to get opportunity. So I want to go the opportunity route on it, because when you talk about what's happening in Colorado, what's happening in Syracuse, that's 2 out of 170. And so whereas you had Penn State right there about to go in, you had Notre Dame get in. It just seems like, man, if not them and now, when is this going to realistically happen, where you have a black head coach coaching in the national championship and then going on to win it? And to me, that does start with opportunity. And then let's be clear, it's not on us to give the opportunities. We are not the majority by any stretch of the imagination amongst ADs in the Power Four, amongst boosters and board of regents in the Power Four. So it comes to someone not looking like you, to recognize what you bring to the table and give an opportunity, because they know what the success means. And this is like a global 30,000 foot view. I know that there are nuances. I know that there have been people that have even turned down jobs, like you said, waiting on the right fit. But when you just look at a football knowledge, football acumen, and successful resume, I don't care if it's Pee Wee leagues to the NFL. There's no reason that Leftwich and Bieniemy ain't coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Leftwich was coordinating with Brady, man, winning Super Bowls at Tampa Bay. Like, look what Bieniemy has done at every level of the game. And for them to have clean noses and that kind of football acumen and not be employed right now, whether it's their choice or whoever's, it just speaks volume. And that's one of the things I appreciate about a Deion Sanders at Colorado. He's not one of those guys that goes along to get along. He was able to get a job being himself. When you ask him about being black, you're going to get a black answer, not a politically correct answer. And sometimes people, not sometimes, a lot of times, damn near all the time, people hire what they're comfortable with. And that kind of presence makes certain people, uncomfortable. And so I know that there is talent out there in the black coaching market. I know that that talent is capable of coaching, at this level. When Coach Prime was at Jackson State in the SWAC, HBCU, FCS level, he was facing coaches and telling the world, man, darn it, it's some good coaches down here. Like, these guys need opportunity to move up. And look what happened with Vincent Dancy going to Colorado now at Mississippi State. Clearly, he's going to be a defensive coordinator one day in the not so distant future, at a Power 4 school. So I think there's going to be some opportunity come. But when it didn't happen this year, having 2 black head coaches in the quote unquote final 6, then final 8, then final 4, it just seems like, oh man, what an opportunity missed for the culture, to finally get over this hurdle. But as you articulated, man, it's some damn good coaches in the pipeline, and given the opportunity and chance, and on any given Saturday afternoon, you could have one of those black coaches in the finals and win it all.
Absolutely. All right, Neely, you tell me, from what you've seen already with some of the new coaching additions, what is something that has stood out to you from being close to the ground when these new coaches have been announced? It could be something from one coach, or it could be something that you've seen as consistent through multiple.
I would say I would go to consistent from them all. It is the understanding that everything we did to get 9 wins ain't good enough. Because if we're going to truly compete and play for a national championship, truly at this given juncture and for the months and seasons to come, we have to win. We being Colorado, we have to win the Big 12 championship, because unlike the SEC or Big 10 or ACC, we're not going to have multiple teams in. Like, you can't go in just assuming that you're going to have multiple teams, in the final 12. Your only guaranteed slot is the winning of the Big 12, because you still exist in a space where the Big 12 is not looked at as the other conferences are from a strength of schedule or just strength of conference standpoint. So your only path forward is to win the Big 12 championship. And I think these coaches know everything that it took, to go from 1 to 12, to take that to 4 to 8, and then take that to 9 and 4, 9 and 3 regular season ain't good enough. And so everybody is rolling up their sleeves. Everybody has a different sense of urgency. Let me put it that way. I think that's the common ground, the sense of urgency that we don't have a day to waste, even in February, even in March, even in April, because what we do in November starts in what we do in February, March, April. And let me tell you this, why they know that. Have yet to win, Coach Prime's coaching organization has yet to win the last game of the season. Whether that last game is a bowl game in the Alamo Bowl, whether it's the Celebration Bowl, whether it's a regular season game, of a COVID season, what have you, that somehow, and Coach Prime has made this a mantra of his when he says finish, you got to finish. College football is a long season, as you know, Dukes. When you talk about Labor Day weekend to the first weekend of December, it's a long season. But these teams have to be built, have to be organized, have to be conditioned mentally and physically. And even the coaching staff with their playbooks have to be diverse enough throughout the season that you can win in December and finish and win your last game. So I'm going to say across the board, sense of urgency amongst these coaches, what I see and feel most. How about you?
I would say what stood out to me. So I'm gonna go with what stood out so far from what I've seen, and this is some what I saw from like Well Off Media. Shout out to Bucky. Seeing the attitude that Coach Swayze has when he teaches. Now, there's time to motivate. There's a time to teach. So we've seen that Coach Swayze can be that motivator, that fiery guy who can get you ready. Came in on fire. But to see the way that he was teaching Shiloh during draft prep, that's what I was looking for. With this new age of athlete that we have, one, it's refreshing to see coaches who can, one, hold you without yelling. And there are going to be times that it's a time and a place for everything. But I think that we know, like, as far as parents and mentors, that there's a time and place for everything. You got some coaches who only got one speed, one setting on their volume. But to see how Coach Swayze can literally switch it up based on what's needed at the time, I think that's so important for what you are bringing in. And when literally the lifeblood of your program is recruited. And the transfer portal, as we know, is a mixed bag. Every year you might get some, you might not. But what you bring in out of high school is usually what stays with you. And those are the guys that, Coach Prime said he takes a lower level out of high school because he wants to keep his guys. He wants to make sure that he nails those recruitments. So I think by having a guy who can relate, and the next most important thing, I think, after recruiting when it comes to building a program is strength and conditioning. So by being able to have a strength and conditioning coach who can, like they say, get you one who can do both. You got some strength and conditioning guys who all they do is just talk, in a calm tone. Then you got some guys that all they do is yell. They jacked up and they running out of 30-degree weather with their shirt off and all that type of stuff. Well, I think Coach Swayze has already proven through the looks that we've seen from Reach the People Media, from the Pregame Network, from Well Off, that he's somebody who can do both. And I think that's what stood out to me so far about the new hires. It's something I'm looking forward to see manifest on the football field this coming fall.
Yeah, I think you take your response and my response, and shout out to Aunt Roz down there and Uncle Joe in New Orleans. Make a little gumbo with that. That's your base and your root, because you put that together, you got the formula. Because again, you got to be able to win the last game. Like I don't care if it's the Big 12 championship or the national championship. You can't reach your goals in college football without winning the last game of the season.
Right.
And so what comes into play by being able to do something the last day as well as you could the first day, that's strength and conditioning. And so you'll see why Coach Prime, as good as everything was looking, as smooth as everything was going, as successful as everything was, you'll see why Coach Prime will make a change at the strength and conditioning level, going with Coach Swayze and Coach Mo making that switch. It's because we have got to be able to finish, and we got to be able to go through the season with a sense of urgency, because every game matters. And when you look at his demeanor, knowing when to yell, knowing when to teach, knowing when to motivate, knowing when to just put his back on the wall and fold his arms. Excellent addition to the coaching staff. And he has that sense of urgency and no wasted motion, no wasted opportunity about him as well.
Absolutely.
Can we flip to the NFL for a little bit?
Come on with it. I'm ready.
Yeah. So I know it's you tell me, and we'll get to some Super Bowl predictions. But before we even get to the Final Four, I want to start with those divisional games. And you tell me directed at Baltimore. You tell me, how much of this is on Lamar and how much of this is on the coaching?
I'm going to say 50-50. And the reason I say 50-50 is because I heard Lamar take accountability. Lamar knows that those turnovers were tough. You can't turn the ball over twice. Now, this is what I also say. I just came from outside in that snow. I'm carrying a grocery bag. I couldn't imagine holding a football and trying to throw it with a 250, 60-pound Von Miller tracking me down. So, with that being said, I do empathize with the situation, but also Josh Allen also had to play in that. So, now, the reason I say 50-50 is because even though it was on the coaching and it was on Lamar and all of that, Lamar still did enough to win. And to be honest, the coaching did enough to win. That last play call, they called it. That's the exact same play call they called 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago against Pittsburgh in the flat? And that time, the first time Lamar maybe overthrew it just a tad. This time they ran it. That ball was on the money. Perfect. And you got to hold on to the ball, Mark Andrews. And I'm not the type of person just to put a whole game on somebody. But Mark Andrews, so when you look at the amount of opportunities Lamar Jackson had to turn the ball over, in comparison to the amount of opportunities Mark Andrews had to make a turnover ball or a play that resulted in a turnover, because dropping that pass basically resulted in giving the ball back.
Yeah.
I would say that, Lamar Jackson's percentage, a quarterback, 2 turnovers, 2 touchdowns, extra point conversion, the throw that he made with the pressure on, knowing that you're down 8, for him to sit so cool in the pocket with a 40-yard strike. You saw why he's the MVP. But the coaching, I think, once again, you do keep the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands. I just got to. I know you got Derrick Henry back there, but Lamar Jackson is the MVP. We call him MV3 for a reason. But I'd say this, man, there's something that needs to happen for that breakthrough. And we talk about Andy Reid and how well he's doing and, how he's taken over the NFL as a coach with Patrick Mahomes. But we got to remember when Andy Reid was the guy who couldn't win the big one. Years and years and years, when Andy Reid was in Philadelphia, all of that time, he was the guy who couldn't win the big one. The same questions that Lamar Jackson is answering, Andy Reid answered. And so we've seen what happens when you finally get your breakthrough. So I'm still hopeful that Lamar Jackson will get that breakthrough. And I think it's going to take, but Andy Reid made the breakthrough when he got his guy. Michael Jordan made the breakthrough. We're going to talk about that too. Michael Jordan made the breakthrough when he got his guy. And I think for whatever reason, it was almost Derrick Henry. But I think you got to really have a real guy on the perimeter. I love Zay Flowers. But in most offenses that have a true one, he's a two. When they find their guy for Lamar Jackson, that real running mate, a Jamar Chase, a Garrett. Now, I would even go so far to say a Garrett Wilson. We haven't even seen what he can be. Like when you get one of these guys that's a one on 60 to 70% of the NFL's team, then I think you'll see what Lamar Jackson can really be.
Like it. I'm going to take your 50-50 and make it 60-40.
Okay.
And believe me, part of me want to go 70-30. And that 60-40, the 60 is on the coaching. I don't know how many times that route to Andrews works at practice, but every game clip I see, it ain't working, but they keep calling it. and Lamar didn't call that play. Like he ran the play that they called. Right. I also think there were some times in the game where strategy-wise, as far as clock management and ability mixed with the percentage or likelihood of success, I think there are some Derrick Henry moments that should have taken place that didn't take place. And that's not Lamar Jackson's call either. I do agree with you 100% that in this situation, you can't turn the ball over at all. When you look at the winners in these playoffs, the winners have been the teams that turned it over less than the other ones. And there's been some drastic differences, like 5-0, 4 turnovers to 1, you know. And so you're absolutely right. You can't have turnovers in this situation. And when you talk about starting with the weather, you never know what the weather's going to really be like in Baltimore, Maryland in January either. But I will tell you this. It's why games in September matter. It's why games in October matter. You got to do all of that to get home field. And I think that there are some things throughout the season that just have put Baltimore in the positions where they make it harder on themselves to succeed. One thing that you touched on about having a guy, particularly with the Andy Reid example, not so much with the Jordan example, sometimes the guy got to move to where the guy is. And I don't know going forward how successful the Harbaugh Lamar partnership is. That it may be in both of their best interests to coach somebody else and play for somebody else, because what they're doing ain't working. You know, you have MVP caliber, MVP actual candidate, and just can't, you know, get over that hump. I saw enough questionable situational play calls that I'm willing to put more on the coaching for that loss than I am the player. But as you started off with, Deuce the Scoop, I did appreciate and value Lamar standing there, taking the questions, taking responsibility and accountability, and starting with himself. Because even on that drop pass by Andrews, all that does is give you the opportunity, for overtime. And you still do it. It's not like he dropped the game-winning pass. You know, he dropped an opportunity pass. And I just think on that 2 points, man, I'm giving that thing to Henry. Like or Lamar, like you, because you talk about Lamar having the ball in his hands. I just feel that I don't care if you're coaching little league, middle school, high school, college, no matter what the level, all the way to the NFL. When you're on offense, at some point, the ball has to be touched by your 3 best players. And in that situation, that's Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, question mark. I think there was enough happened in that game that Andrews ain't the question mark. So it's like I'm just not even going that way to give him a chance to redeem himself. I'm going to give it to my 1 or my 2, and we're going to live and die whatever they can accomplish, because that's who got us here.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, and that's another thing about roster construction, right? Because Zay Flowers is out. Now who's your 1?
Yeah.
So Lamar Jackson even took him that far without his top target. But I got before I get to my you tell me, you talked about how much better do the Chargers look with Lamar Jackson at quarterback with what his brother.
That's what I mean about environment and coaches. I tell you
Yeah.
what, I bet you they still playing.
Man, what you talking about? Like,
Bet you they still playing.
like literally, let's say Lamar Jackson traded for Justin Herbert. How does that game look? Lamar Jackson with the Chargers. You got your one receiver because Lad McConkey a bad boy. You got your you got a lot in a lot of places. You got your defense, you got your offensive line, you know, and they were able to run the ball with 2 Baltimore retreads. They ran the hell out of that ball this year and control the clock. So, I mean, like you said, now I'm thinking, I'm like, hey, Baltimore has a great team, but Lamar with the fresh set of, you know, with the new zip code could be a cheat code for him in unlocking his true potential. So, yeah, maybe that relationship has ran its course, but we'll see going forward.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Because sometimes, man, all it takes is a move. Like you know that. I know that. Our sports eyes know that. Like you look at the trajectory of people's success when they were somewhere compared to when they packed their bags and went somewhere else. All they did was change the environment and things went up. And I'm just looking at what this partnership has produced there, and it may have just hit the pinnacle. You know, I think schematically some things could be different. I think organizationally some things could be different. Because how many times we're gonna be right there and just say, okay, we were just right there again. Move around, like the young folks say.
Move around. All right, you tell me. Right now, is there anyone left in the playoffs that can beat Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Here's the issue with beating Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. And to me, it's one of the key reasons why the Chiefs continue to set records on having the most wins by 1 score or less. You got to play perfect to beat them. One, they don't make a lot of costly mistakes. You know, they don't turn the ball over a lot. They don't do situationally dumb things, you know, where it's 3rd and 5 and they hop off sides, or it's 3rd and 14 and they get a rough in the pass. They don't do a lot of things to hurt themselves. They take care of the ball and they're patient in their offense and they're very aggressive in their defense. When you look at these other teams that are out there left, I'm looking at the Eagles and I'm looking at the Bills and I'm saying that the Chiefs have been there, done that mentality, right? Like we have overcome and slayed those kind of dragons before. I'm gonna go with the X factor, the unknown. If that damn rookie out of Washington get hot and get going, you don't have enough body of work and film and prep. Like you don't know what he's gonna do. Like even with a full season of film under your belt, every situation he does something different, pulling a rabbit out of his hat. Every situation he makes those around him that much better. I think if there's anybody left that can truly do it to keep them from a three-peat, man, I if I was a betting man, I would lay 100 on the Commanders before I did the Eagles or the Bills.
I agree, 1,000%. I always say this: sometimes you get guys that don't know no better, right? They don't know they ball, and they just doing what they know to be true. Like they don't know they supposed to be scared. It ain't nothing like that young team that come. We playing pickup basketball. It ain't nothing like that team of high schools that come in there with them grown men, and they out there just hoop because they don't know how good you used to be in high school. They just know who in front of them, and I gotta bust his tail. And I think it's the same. Pause. I think it's the same thing with you don't get me no more.
Okay, I was right there. we busted tails now. Okay.
It's the same thing when it comes to Jaden Daniels, man. For him to be able to play the ways that in the manner that he's played, and then it comes out that his pre-draft process, he wanted to go to teams that had virtual reality so he could watch defenses in faster motion or in faster time than he would actually have on, I think it was like 1.75, almost double time, the play speed. So he would feel comfortable in making decisions. So everything that he saw in real time would be slow to him. Yeah. And if you watch him play, that's how it looks. So he's not afraid. Even when they hit him hard pause. When man, you don't want to hear. I was just going to say when they deliver blows, man, bro. I got, hey man, Uncle Neely, man, you got me so paranoid. But when they tackle him with force, when they like they did in the SEC, and people were worried about, could he, what? Forget it. Could he stand up to the beating that he was taking? Right.
Absolutely.
He was able to show and prove that he has been because he's prepared himself. So when it comes down to somebody who can beat the Chiefs, I am right there along the line with you. And I think that if anybody left, it's Jaden Daniels because he don't know he's supposed to be scared of the Chiefs.
You may experience this when Cam was a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
Walk outside, see a snake, try to pick it up because he don't know it's a snake.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah, like he hadn't learned to be afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's shining, it's slithering, it's moving fast. Oh, I want it. Ain't thinking like with adult mindset. And to me, that's like the Commanders continue to play weekend after weekend with a house money mentality. It's like, dog, what can we lose? Like we got nothing to lose here. And unlike their friends across town, the Ravens, I think sometimes their coaching staff, and you saw this for about a 2-minute period in Ryan Day last night. You saw, oh shit, it's finna happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And they start coaching from a oh shit standpoint versus, man, bump that, man, run that thing on them dudes. Do what we do, we got here. And so you don't see like the Commanders fall into the trap of beating themselves. They just keep applying that pressure because they don't know no better. Like they don't have football 101 handbook. They don't threw that out.
Mm-hmm.
It's, hey man, do what you feel like doing. You want to fake it, you want to go for it. You want to QB draw. You want to hand it off. It's so wide open you can't prepare for it. But again, I say to me, Chiefs are the favorite. To beat the man, you gotta beat the man. They ain't going for a 3-peat for nothing. And you just have to damn near play perfect ball to match them because they don't give games away.
Man, you know what? It's funny you said that. So to beat a man, you got to beat the man. My man, Ric Flair, wrestling analogy. How many? And I can't tell you how many times I was a kid in Atlanta watching WCW or NWA free on TBS because we got that free. You ain't had cable. We watched everything on Channel 17 because it was free in Atlanta. So we watched all the rest. Yep, we watched that TBS, and I can't tell you how many times I was ready for him to lose the title, but every time, whether they cheated, whether he came up with a clutch move at the end, whether somebody else beat themselves because, his antics made them wild out, right? He always won. And that's how the Chiefs feel this year. Like, it feels like they find a way every time. Whether they got to cheat, whether somebody beats themselves, right? We've seen it that way too. Remember, first game of the season, Isaiah Likely has on the wrong color cleat. If he would have had on white cleats, he would have been in. You wouldn't have been able to see the split.
Absolutely.
That's been the whole season for the Chiefs. So that's why it's going to be hard for me to bet against them guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out, as I did earlier, to my Aunt Roz. I got my phone to the side and then my text window will pop up. Shout out to Aunt Roz asking me about how to subscribe while we all live. You gotta love your family, dog. You gotta love your family. And again, shout out to everybody that's dealing with this snowstorm. I know it looked pretty, but it ain't pretty for everybody to deal with. I mean, you're talking about from Houston through the Gulf Coast, Alabama, up through Atlanta, all the way to the Carolinas. Snow every damn well. It missed Jackson. Somebody said life in Jackson so bad it snowed that he want to come here. Dukes, I was supposed to be flying home today, but I moved up a day early trying to, because I know how southern cities, it's difficult for us to deal with snow. So I said, let me go a day or beat it. Man, It's been sun. Now it's cold in Jackson. Don't get me wrong, but it's been sun. Ain't been no water, snow nowhere. They said, man, snow don't even want to come to Jackson.
Oh man, that's good.
Don't give a damn. Say it's snowing in Florida as well. I didn't know it's snowing there also.
Dang, man, that's tough. That man said
Yeah.
the Snow don't want to go to Jackson.
No, Snow said, shit, man, that's Jackson.
They got switch.
Let me get on about it there, man. Don't get off of that X. Dudes, let me ask you something. I don't know this is you tell me, other just two dudes talking at the barbershop.
All right.
When we talk NFL and we talk, playoffs and finishing, inevitably in the chat, people refer to the refs when we talk about the Chiefs. Man, you tell me, they really be cheating?
Man, look, I ain't gonna say they be cheating, but I ain't gonna say it's fair either.
I like that.
Man,
that need to be on the shirt. I ain't gonna say they cheat, but I ain't gonna say it's fair either.
It's consistent. You ever see like a kid that every time they do something, I ain't do nothing, but every time somebody in trouble, they right there in the mix. It's the same thing with the refs. Eventually, you're gonna start to say, "No, them kids just bad." I ain't do nothing. They was just messing with me, and I just defended myself. I ain't do nothing. The teacher don't like me. I ain't do nothing. The teacher ain't do this. The Chiefs, no, we ain't cheat. The refs just called it this way. No, we ain't cheat. That man really was out of bounds. No, we ain't cheat. It was intentional. It wasn't intentional grounding. After a while, you're gonna say, "Man, them folks cheating, man." Like, so I don't know. It's a meme that's going around with the referees and Kansas City Chief colors. Man, please.
I like the meme where they doing the jersey swap at the end. The ref is giving them the zebra shirt. but I'm gonna tell you now. Let me tell you that you tell me from my standpoint. I grew up watching basketball, and I can remember when calls appeared to go Jordan's way. And when calls couldn't go his way, I can remember when certain rules were changed to make it favorable to his style of play, because that's what put asses in the seats and that's what put eyeballs on TV. So I get that. I can remember, as we all can, when Brady seemed to get favorable calls his way. When a call could have gone either way, it seemed to go his way more times than not. But I think when you step back and just put the data out and look at right calls, wrong calls, this team, that team, I don't think it's as skewed enough as people think in their heads it is. Like, I don't think you got a group of guys out there that they come out the refs locker room and they hate the Falcons so much that they just finna make up calls on the Falcons as much as it is the Falcons. Or you could put the Cowboys, my team. No, it's your play, dog. You lost the game because of your play. Mm-hmm. There's enough technology now where the refs can be, their human error can be taken out of it. And I do think from a strategic standpoint, as your team gets ready, you know what crew is calling your game, and you even have information on how tight these crews call game versus another crew. You do that in basketball as well. But for the folks out there who say like the NFL is rigged or the game is this, my retort to them, my reply to them is, why ain't you bet on it then? Like, I mean, if you know that this is fixed for such and so to win it, why don't you go put 100 on it? Okay. So you don't believe what you're saying either then. Just, because at the end of the day, man, it's blocking and tackling, dog. Whichever team blocked the best, whichever team tackled the best, whichever team turned it over the least, that's who's going to win.
Yeah. I mean, now you're right, man. Like, Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback we've seen in a long time. Like, it just is what it is. We ain't seen, I mean, he literally has a chance to go down as the best of all time. Like, we don't like, and that's hard to say. Okay, you tell me, who's the best quarterback of all time?
Oh man, let me preface that, dog.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times people are best, and we talked about this, because of their situation and environment. I don't know if Joe Montana and Steve Young are really amongst the best if they didn't have Jerry Rice. But I do know, having seen Jerry Rice at Valley State, no matter where the hell he was going to be the best. Like environment didn't impact his greatness. You know, he was great wherever he went. So when I look at the totality of it, and I try to take away like the measurements of Super Bowls out of it, because you look at what a Jim Kelly did in Buffalo, going to the Super Bowl 4 times in a damn row, 4 AFC championships in a damn row. He's totally forgotten about because they didn't win. Dan Marino didn't get one. There's a lot of greats out there, but dog, how do we argue against it being either Tom Brady or Peyton Manning for me? Like it's, and I wouldn't be mad if somebody say Brady. I would be mad if somebody say Peyton. But there's so many other people out there with like different skill sets that brought so much other stuff to the table and did, quote unquote, more with less. But that ain't what you asked me. I got to go Brady over Manning. But Manning right there, though.
Okay. All right, so the guy I'm going to go with, he did a lot, right, in a short period of time. He went through a lot in the locker room. He was able to do it in a multitude of ways. When you talk about getting his opportunity and really taking over when nobody was expecting him to, being coached by one of the greatest of all time, somebody who like just multi-talented, and once he won that locker room, you saw a difference in that team, and he just never looked back. And I got to go with Willie Beeman. I just think that he was
boy, I almost did what you did the other night. I almost dropped the ball, baby. Willie Beeman.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, Willie Beeman was my guy, man. I love that movie, man. But now, serious business. Man, right now, when it comes down to physical tools and the way you play the game, I think right now, what Pat Mahomes got? 3 Super Bowl rings?
Yeah.
Shoot, man. I think right now, he's on Montana. He's on 3 Super Bowl rings is enough to get you in the conversation.
Absolutely, he's in it. The only thing that keeps him from being immediately in it, his body of work has been great with so few years that people like myself would go like, oh man, let me see what the next 3 do. Let me see what the next 4 do. Like I keep kicking the can down the road, but he has already proven he's in the conversation. Like he could never win again, and he's in the conversation. If he keeps doing it this level the next 2 or 3 more seasons, he absolutely passes a Brady or a Manning in what they bring to the table. Because I will also tell you this now. If you want to know who I think is just the best quarterback of all time, period, regardless of what they accomplished, because they did it at every level they ever played, when the odds were totally stacked against them and systems were designed against them, and it wasn't like it was supposed to be right now. Warren Moon. From college to Canada to the NFL, and he just didn't get the shot in the NFL soon enough. But Warren Moon, that dude.
Warren Moon's that dude, man. Warren Moon's that dude.
But I can't mention him because, like, the circumstances prevent him from being mentioned. But if you just say, hey, man, give me a guy, and no matter what the smell test look like, no matter what's going on, man, give me Warren Moon, man.
Yeah, 1,000%. Like, and me watching Warren Moon, and you know, and that's when I always talk about sports fans are most aware when they wake up. And when I say wake up, like when your brain is still, you got that new brain, you're still young, and you get into football. So I got into football around about 8, 9 years old, and I was, you know, I was a stat machine. I was collecting football cards, and Warren Moon was my guy. Especially to see somebody who looked like me in that position who did it differently. Like, you know, he wasn't moving. He ran to throw, right? He was crafty, not just this explosive athlete. Now, and just seeing the way that, like, Haywood Jeffries, what's my man name? Is it Chris Dishman?
Yep,
Chris Dishman, and there was one more, man. Haywood Jeffries, Chris Dishman, they had one more in that trio. But yeah, just watching how he distributed the ball, man, he was like a point guard almost. Like, and every play was like a fast break. So Yeah, he's definitely one of mine. But yeah, right now I just feel like Pat Mahomes athletically. Now let's just say you take everything, put everything in a vacuum, and you say, all right, we're gonna build a quarterback. I think that there's for everybody that we name, Pat Mahomes is the only one who can at least get with everybody. Like he could get with the mobile quarterback. If Pat Mahomes couldn't run, he could be mobile enough. He the way he hurts you with his feet, he is like the way he throws the ball. First of all, we talk about arm strength. Like he's the 99. Like he got John Elway's arm strength. Man, he's got a spiral like Dan Marino. You know, he's putting up like he's cerebral like a Peyton Manning, championship pedigree like Tom Brady, and basically he's a faster version of Steve Young when it comes to running the throw. So I mean, man, and I love Steve Young, man. I had on my Steve Young jersey the other day. Like,
yeah,
love Steve Young.
Young is absolutely in the conversation as well. You know, absolutely. But I just think that I don't know what they do without Jerry and the West Coast offense mindset. Like, give them with another and that's why I lean toward, if I could just pick anybody, I lean toward a Warren Moon, because it had nothing to do with the system or the rules. Like it was him. Like you said, that point guard. He made damn good decisions with the ball, and he did it from wearing an afro all the way to a low cut fade. Like the dude did it across decades, you know. But he just gets lost in the history and the discussion because of racism that put him in Canada versus NFL. And then when he finally got his shot in NFL, he was on the older side, twilight of his career. Just think what he'd have done if he just went from Washington to, the NFL. Like, I mean, every record would be his. Great, man. Great question. So I guess we kind of answered it in our discussion, because next time we do a Monday night show, and I know we're doing this on Tuesday, the answer will be known. You tell me who you got going to the Super Bowl.
Man, you know what? I'm gonna go Chiefs. And I'm gonna go Commanders. I just think, for whatever reason, man, I just think like when we talk about, I don't know why, but it's something special about that boy JD5, man. Like I just think that, I don't know, man. He just don't know enough. He don't know he's not supposed to be there. Like, and I would say, if I would have bet, I probably wouldn't bet it, but that's what my heart is right now. Like, I'm really rooting for that young guy to come in, take the reins, and prove it. Like, and just look at, just seeing. And I'm gonna be biased. I saw him at I met him at Elite. I met him and his mom at Elite 11 in 2023. Before his senior season at LSU, and my nephew Aaron Nolan, who's at South Carolina now, he was an Elite 11 quarterback. So I went out there to watch him, and watching Jaden Daniels, the way he was talking to these guys, the way he was coaching them up, the humility he had before his Heisman season, and the relationship he had with his mom, like the way like it was really impressive to see that young man, and I'm just excited for his success. And this ain't like I know him, I can call him or call his mama, none of that. I just like to see excellence in that form. And I would love to see, like, I ain't gonna cap you down, man. I would love to see an unapologetically black man get up there and just be the court. I don't think we had one. Have we? Like we talking about, like, ain't no question marks.
No, not since Doug Williams.
Not since Doug Williams. Boom. So
wow,
not since Doug Williams. Yeah, maybe DC, Chocolate City.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, man. Go JD5, man.
When you were describing some of those, this dude with the memes, when you were describing some of those attributes of the quarterback, I was like, man, he describing Mama or the quarterback, because there's a lot of folks who pull up on camp just to look at Mama too, because it's elite. But I tell you, man, I'm with you on the Chiefs, right? Because I do think they're just unapologetically the best team in the NFL right now and have been for a while. And then when it comes down to the Eagles and the Commanders, for all the reasons you articulate, I'm going with the Commanders. But let me tell you why I'm not going with the Eagles. I mean, I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. It's hard enough to pull for either one of them out the NFC East. So I got to pull for who I hate the least, and for who my heart wants to go for. And so that's Jalen Daniels, because when you look at what he went through, how his former team in AZ did him when he transferred, went to LSU, got the Heisman. It's amazing how, again, environments come up. You know, how somebody can be a wash or a bust in one location and move somewhere else, and all of a sudden they're the best thing ever. You saw that last night where Ohio State, you know, won the national championship, but it was just a few years ago. Joe Burrows was there on the bench and went to LSU, wins the national championship and a Heisman. This guy transfers, you know, wins a Heisman. Hell, Travis transfers and wins a Heisman. So I'm pulling. I think it'll be the Chiefs and the Commanders in the Super Bowl, and then next show we got time to pick who we think will win that. But that's I'm with you for all the reasons you stated on the Commanders.
For sure, man. Like now we locked in, man. So when it comes to you tell me, man, the unanimous you tell me pick for the Super Bowl is Chiefs Commanders. That's gonna be fun too. Yeah. Like DC in New Orleans for the Super Bowl is gonna be fun itself.
Chocolate on chocolate, baby.
Man, bounce and house music, please. The bounce house, yeah, I like that.
Let's get a little go-go down there.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of go-go, I just looked down at my ankles, boy. I'm ashes. I don't know what. I look like Ashy Larry down here.
Ankle cap you down, man. Oh man, I can't think of a time I put lotion on my feet, man. I'm sorry.
Like, it's not a priority in my life either.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Aunt Roz, who figured out how to get in the chat. Speaking of New Orleans and Super Bowl, she finally figured out how to get in the chat. We appreciate Big Dog Chico producing in the background. I think I heard the sound man a couple times. I think a button got away from him or something. He was on speakerphone 1. I don't know what was going on back there. But as always, we want you to subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like button on all 3 channels, Dukes the Scoop channel, as well as Big Dog Chico's channel, as well as the Pregame Network. No matter which one you're watching live right now, be sure you support the others because there's unique content dropping on each one of them, aside from the projects that we do together on a weekly basis. Duke the Scoops, you know, like we always do, baby. You take us out of here. I bring us in, you take us out. Land this thing.
All right, man. So 9 2-letter words can help anybody change their life. And that is, if it is to be, it's up to me.
If it is to be, it's up to me. He took us out again. We're going to check y'all out next Monday. You Tell Me Live with Uncle Neely and Philip Dukes. Dukes the Scoop. Big Dog Chico producing in the background. Appreciate y'all. Y'all check us back out. Thursday is next live show. Unc and Chico. Then we back Sunday and next Monday as well with our live segments. But as always, turn those notification buttons on. That's that little bell, because you never know when we might hop on here and go live. We get that hen in us. We start texting each other. Next time you know we on live.
Figure this out.
True story.
Like help me out. I'm trying to understand, dude, what the hell is going on. So that's the name of this partnership. You tell me. 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 Oh. You tell me. You tell me. Live on Mondays. You tell me. Live on Mondays. You tell me. Live on Mondays. You tell me. Live.